Make a big bang this time, yeah. Because it just looks.
Make it theatrical.
Yeah. It's just listen to what this sounds like.
Is it really unimpressive?
It's awful.
Well, he's a quid from Amazon. Like, what do you think he was going to do?
Well, it made me jump.
Welcome to another episode of Rec Talk. So we've got David Poole joining us today. David of Sales Geek and formerly of FedEx, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on board. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah,
all the way from Coventry, right? Well,
Yeah.
no, sorry, not Coventry. Slightly out.
Well, yeah, I live in Brandon, from Coventry, via Brussels, Copenhagen, a few other places in the meantime. But yeah, Coventry boy. If you look at the facts, yeah.
Fair enough. So, David, we heard an interesting rumor that you got a piano. Elton John's piano, was it? Or
something Elton John's piano.
Yeah, Elton John's piano, or Ed Sheeran's guitar, or there's a few of those rock and roll stories. Yeah, so I not so much these days, but I was quite involved in the early phase of HMV Empire in Coventry, which launched in July 21. And we had a gig coming up with Damon Albarn. So from Blur and Gorillaz, and quite a big deal for us to have somebody of that caliber. And we got a message through in advance. You get all the stage specs and what's going to be needed, what microphones and what lights and all that kind of stuff. And they've been using an upright piano for the first few shows of the tour before us. Damon wasn't happy with the sound of this piano.
What a diva!
Well, they're putting on a show. Hey,
piano's
these
a piano,
things are
right?
important.
No, piano's a piano, isn't it?
Yeah, you're playing in Coventry. Like, they ain't gonna know.
They do know, don't they?
So anyway, we get sent through the spec of this grand piano. It's had its legs taken off. It's in a case. This sort of shape, but a lot bigger. The HMV Empire is like 4 stories above street level, so you go in up the escalators as a punter, but the back of the building it's really high up.
Got to get up there.
Yeah. We get the dimensions. We quickly realise it's not going in at ground level, and there's sort of 8 concrete steps up on level 4. So we got a ramp built to push it up, but you've got the doors, which is normal door height, and then beyond that you've got some metal shutters, and then you've got another sort of archway, and as we're hitting the ramp, the top of this piano starting to touch the threshold of the building, or at least we anticipated that. But the bottom line was about 8 of us got it off the back of the van. And the Barracks car park, like all car parks, it's ramp.
Yeah.
So it's like a PG Tips commercial, sort of 5-6 of us guys, like a load of chimps, pushing this grand piano on its side up the top. And we're getting there. Then a car's coming past us, so we're moving to one side. And on the label on the side of the piano, it was labelled up with the name of the company that housed this piano, distribute it and stuff. But it was Elton John's piano for Damon Albarn, and we finally got it into the building. The show was fantastic, and then we realised getting it out it's much harder, right? So if you imagine, would you rather lift a piano up 4 feet or lift it down, but not damage it, right?
Yeah.
So lifting it up is kind of controlled. Lifting it down, gravity's really against you. And the journey down all those ramps was far more anxiety inducing, because we're all kind of if this thing gets loose,
if it goes, it's going.
Frank Spencer style, it's.
Well, then you've got Elton John's mob to compete with, isn't it?
Well, exactly. So you get. In the rock and roll game, you get all sorts of interesting, it's just a grand piano, but all of a sudden it's Damon Albarn's grand piano. No, it's Elton John's grand piano.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't seem the forgiving type either.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine he'd say, "Oh, lads, it's fine."
I've got plenty of them. Don't worry about it.
I don't think.
He didn't seem the kind of person that'd be all right.
He's a well-renowned, self-diagnosed diva, right? So
Yeah. So what made you think that was a good idea in the first place, to be like, let's do that. Let's just get the piano in there? Surely,
you get told what you can and can't do. The artist comes and says, "We're going to do this,"
and it's just for you to make it.
Our job as a venue is to enable.
You did the salesperson thing. The salesperson thing of, here's my problem, And rather than be like, oh, no, no, you've gone, can solve all of that. And then take it behind closed doors and go, right, guys,
salesperson's job
what the fuck do we do here?
is to overcommit and underdeliver. Right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We had one once. It was a part of the City of Culture thing where this was booked out months and months and months in advance. It was something to do with the BBC, and it was like a performance art thing. And we found out a week before that this performance was a lady emerging from 2 tons of topsoil on the stage. And so we're like, okay, fine. My thought was, this is going to wreck our stage.
Yeah.
These guys knew what they're doing. They came in, they covered it all up, brought in all these bags of topsoil, and this lady sat inside this pile of topsoil for an hour until the room filled up, and then as part of this performance of music and
I'll
slowly
never
emerged.
understand modern art and things like that. That is just like, yeah.
Maybe we're not bright enough to appreciate it.
Clearly, clearly.
But you get these
all of that for the 5 or 10 seconds of her emerging out the top soil. Everyone be like, "Oh wow!" And then the following on question of, "Fucking hell, was she in there the whole time? Like, how long has she been in there for? Is there a trap
with
door?
a snorkel on?
Yeah. What is she doing?
Yeah. But no, you get these things, and yeah, there's been occasions where we've said we can't do things. And we nearly had to stop a show once. We had a guy, there were some pyros on the stage. I think it was like an ABBA tribute or something. And yeah, basically, there's a guy at the sound desk, but you've also got somebody who's there saying, right, on this beat of this part of the chorus of Waterloo, bang,
off.
And we kept briefing that they had like a bongos player. There was sort of an ancillary member of the band on the stage. And we said, you're going to have to stand in this square, because if you stand there, or there, and this guy kept moving around. And in the first half of the show, the pyros didn't go off because the guy was like, it's not safe enough. And then it kicked off. We had to go back and say, right, we will only launch these pyros if we can bolt your feet to the floor.
Keep your bongo man in one place.
You need to stand nowhere.
The thing is about playing bongos, though, you can't stand still and play bongos. You have to move.
It's a rhythm
about,
instrument.
So
Yeah,
this is it, right?
It's a dance, isn't it?
They shouldn't have put him there. Really, they should have moved him somewhere safer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe put like the singer there or something.
Yeah, or the celloist. Cellist. There you go. Put them there. They don't move around very much.
No,
ABBA have a cellist?
Isn't it?
I don't think ABBA
They
did
didn't have a bongo player either, did they?
Well, they obviously did, because they got paid.
I'm not sure how accurate a tribute band this was. By the way,
clearly, yeah.
It could have been like ABBA Bangra or something. I'm sure.
Bangra.
Very good.
Steel, and we need someone to put the steel band.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you get all sorts going on in that game. It's always really interesting. Although, as a passionate gig goer, it's kind of ruined gigs for me now, because if I go to a gig, I'm like, there's not enough security. Have we got enough water? Have we got the fire exits all covered? Things that it's the customer's job is to go and enjoy it. And even if I'm at I'm going to a gig on Friday. We're on Friday, Sunday, in Birmingham, and I know at some point the illusion will be shattered, and I'll be like, that not everything's as I think it should be. So
have you completely moved away from the Empire stuff then?
Yeah, pretty much. I really loved it. It was great fun. They really helped me out. When I finished FedEx, I was at a loose end, and it filled my time in that sort of mid-COVID period and helped keep my brain active. I learned so much. I learned, having worked for one of the world's biggest companies, $80-90 billion turnover, half a million employees. Running a small business is so much more difficult than running one of those big monsters. Not that I was running FedEx, but
obviously there was a level of involvement.
You just got so much more responsibility, so much more diversity in the tasks and what you're responsible for. You guys know this, right? But when you're working for a bigger organisation, there's more resource, there's more process, there's more structure to it. But so actually, having then moved away and set up another business myself, I would argue that I learned as much in the 12 months that I was working with the team at Empire as I did in the 25 years that I was at FedEx, just because of the diversity of running a small startup versus running, or being part of a big, well-oiled machine. Yeah,
I mean, there was no point at FedEx where they would have been like, we're struggling with a handful of pallets. Can you get down there and just...
Well, strangely, that did used to happen. And that was part of the mindset in the early days. At Christmas time, the sales guys would be like, right, guys, customers don't want to see you. We're overwhelmed with parcels. Get a high vis on. fill your car up and help us deal with the volume.
I mean, you were managing director of the sales unit, so you were sending those people out, right? Yours was the, I'll do the rotors.
Well, over time, I think a mixture of health and safety consciousness, training, compliance, it became the stage where almost your ability to muck in was kind of discouraged because I'm not saying that it was ever unsafe, but you needed to have completed this training course or that awareness thing to be able to go out on the road.
Lift with your back, that kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly that.
Go for all the heavy things and only lift with your back.
Exactly that. So
heavy stuff on the top, lightest at the bottom.
That's it.
Over time, it went from the operations team would say, "Can everybody muck in?" to the operations team would say, "We don't want anybody that's not certified in my warehouse."
You guys are going to get a suit.
But that came down to resource planning, though, right? Because as you get up to the lead to Christmas, you then just ring around a bunch of agencies and be like, "Right, we need 10 guys, 20 guys, or whatever to do this," and they would provide that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's there is a point in if you're operating any of those big logistics companies, Christmas is always a problem because you are always operating way beyond capacity.
Yeah,
you can't operate a business that's got that can handle 1 million parcels at peak, but only operate 500,000 through it year round because the cost is just monumental. So you have to just figure out how you're going to cope. So you start doing things like instead of delivering 9 to 5, you're delivering 9 to 10 in the evening. You're delivering Saturdays, you're delivering Sundays.
Just throw the parcel straight over the fence and all that sort of stuff.
Never. That used to be our worst nightmare with a viral clip of a parcel slinger.
It's usually UPS though, isn't it?
Well, do you know what? I think every one of the companies in that industry has had that moment where you've either had a contractor who just doesn't appreciate it's an absolute no, or you can get these things wrong sometimes, right? So I had an occasion once where one of the big, I won't name them, one of the big delivery companies.
It was Hermes.
No, it was one of the big ones, one of the big American ones.
He said big ones, not.
They left a card at my door, and it basically said, sorry you're not in, couldn't leave the parcel. As luck would have it, but circumstances meant that the parcel that they tried to deliver had a big Disney logo on it, and it was some toys that we'd ordered from the Disney website for my daughter. But this...
Just clarifying, it wasn't for yourself.
No, it wasn't for myself. It wasn't a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse playset, But 6 o'clock that evening came back, and there was a second card through the door. And what had happened was the courier had looked through the window and seen a child's 3 birthday cards on the mantelpiece. I thought, this is a birthday present. Might be important. So they left it behind the wheelie bin. And in the process, kind of saved the birthday that day. But if that item had then been stolen, the same action with all of that positive intent would have been the wrong decision. So these logistics and courier companies, they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Leave it somewhere safe. It's been stolen. If it doesn't get stolen, it's the right thing. If it does get stolen or damaged, it's the wrong thing.
Also, there's the increased pressures now. I mean, years ago, we never had same-day delivery or next-day delivery or anything like that. But now,
the game's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, now, I mean, we do a bit of work with Parcel Force and stuff like that, and they're required to deliver 90-odd items a day, and it's just that's crazy.
That's minimum, 200 some of them. So some of these drivers. Now you can use tech to really well plan the route. So there was a time where you'd look at it and it was based upon your own geographical knowledge. But now the route planning and stuff's really good. But make no mistake, those guys, you see delivery vehicles parked on double yellows with their lights flashing. Those guys are under immense pressure. It's like delivery drivers as well.
Yeah. No, that's it. It's weird. I think my GP's doing deliveries at the minute. I can't read the cards. They're all little scribbles all the time. I'm like, has he left it here? Is it in the bin? Where is it? He's always just ticks the box and like proper GP writing. I'm like, this guy
accidentally prescribed you.
I
can take this.
I always find that when I get a card left for an item, it's always from a company whose nearest distribution centre is in Leicestershire or other side of Birmingham Airport. It's never the one that's 2 miles away.
Down road, yeah.
It's always a nightmare.
I don't know if was it FedEx, the KFC thing,
DHL.
That was
DHL.
DHL Logistics took over the distribution, didn't they, for KFC, and they had a few implementation problems. And I don't know the ins and outs, but the bottom line was there wasn't chicken in KFC, and KFC managed that from a PR perspective. Like
Oh,
the
really
socials
well,
and stuff
yeah.
were so funny,
Yeah.
like really, really funny. But yeah, I don't know what happened in the end, whether that contract went back or not. But
No,
I think they
so-
split it 50-50 in the end, didn't they?
Yeah, but no. So they brought in the old guys. It was a small logistics company that was doing it. We remember we knew the head of finance there.
Yeah.
And they ended up giving the contract back to them. And I think that was 50-50 with the transition period that they were just going to get the whole thing back.
yeah,
Which that was crazy though. Like,
you wouldn't put again if I was running a big organisation like that. I would never have said this when I was working in the industry. You'd always split your volumes. You'd always put your eggs in more than one basket because
Imagine being
you're
the
only a strike
salesperson
or
though
a
as well.
system failure away from, or a cyber attack away.
Yeah. But imagine being the salesperson, being like, "Yeah, I signed up KFC. Oh, okay, that commission check's going to be. What do you mean? What do you mean we've given the contract back? Well, you can't
what do you mean
deliver
we
on
fucked it up? Because for that sales guy, that would have been a really good sale,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean.
I wouldn't be surprised if the person that closed that deal ended up having their reputation slightly tarnished, even though they
Yeah.
had no role in operating it, because it would have.
Give us an example of a time where you
cast shade onto the business,
where
right?
you
Oh,
won
you
a
did.
really big contract. Don't say KFC. Don't say KFC.
Yeah.
So
But
you mentioned, David, that like the pressures of kind of big businesses versus small businesses are totally different then. So as kind of owners of small businesses, how do they manage, or how should they manage those pressures then? Because I can tell you now that as small business owners, we're salespeople, we're marketers, we're chief technology officers, CEOs, CFOs, and kind of any other title that you want to put in there, HR, all of it sits on your head, doesn't it?
yeah.
So how does an owner of a business then start to put that trust in other people and say, okay, do you know what?
Sort of step away from those responsibilities.
I feel like I know what I'm doing.
I think it's really hard. I think that letting go piece. So as a business starts to scale, and at the beginning, you are the sales director, you're at least the bookkeeper, you're the legal counsel, you're the
receptionist,
marketer,
head of complaints.
you're doing you're the operations person. You're doing whatever the doing is for that company. So
Yeah.
you're all of those things, and you learn a load in that process. But I think as the businesses start to scale, it's almost like a change management process. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Bridges change management, the Bridges transitional model, but it's basically a review where you say, right, what do I need to carry on doing? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? And every time the business moves a step forward, it's a really good exercise to say, do you know what? I need to not be emptying the bins anymore because we've actually paid someone to do that, or I need to not. I need to not be creating stuff in Canva for our socials because actually we've hired an agency or brought somebody in to do
got
that.
Somebody doing that. Yeah.
But people find we're creatures of habit, right? So you tend to carry on doing what you do. You drive home the same way every day, right? So you form those habits, and breaking those habits is something that I think everybody finds difficult, but the smartest people get right. I always remember, I've read a lot about Richard Branson's greatest talent being that he's just an incredible delegator. He doesn't really get his hands on with anything.
Yeah. There's a quote from Musk that's similar to that as well, which is all around kind of it actively goes out to hire people that are better than him at the task that needs doing.
Yeah, what needs doing, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
And it's almost that mindset, maybe this is a bit too extreme, but I think Branson's mindset seems to be something needs doing, let's do it, who's going to do it, because it's not going to be me. And I think, as a small business owner, that you're not necessarily going to have that mindset, but in terms of managing your transition, so every time that you add to your business and you hire somebody, you're actually also promoting yourself because you're taking on more responsibility. Your job title's not changing, you're not getting a new job description, your salary probably doesn't change, but your role has evolved and people don't notice. And so we find a lot at Sales Geek that we are helping businesses with their sales, with their strategy and their execution and so on. But we also have to do quite a lot of work with the business owner because they are normally part of the problem in some respect because they're either too far away from it, too close to it, and haven't evolved the questions that they ask and how they interact with the business as the business has changed shape.
I think evolution's the key part to that, isn't it? Because it's very hard to tell somebody that, listen, you've done great, you've taken this from literally nothing to where it is now. But now it's time to let go, or time to focus your skill set on what you're good at and bring in people to run your sales team, run your marketing division, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's very easy to sit there and be like, no, we can do this ourselves. We can do this ourselves. I can do this. And it's like, yeah, you did.
Yeah, and can you do, and just because you can doesn't mean you should. So a tiny example for me is that I realised I was sat on thousands and thousands and thousands of email addresses of all the people that I've met with, interacted with over the years. I need to do some broadcast email marketing here. How hard can that be? So probably wasted, a couple of days a week for about 6 weeks understanding about how that works, what you can and can't do, knew a little bit about GDPR, learnt a lot more, then learning about making sure that you've got a warm domain and that you don't end up in everybody's spam. And I've gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. And about week 6, I just thought, why am I trying to become a broadcast marketing expert when there's people all around me who are experts at that, who can do the things that I'm trying to do in their sleep? From a cost perspective, it's going to cost me something. They're going to invoice me. But if I think about my time that I'm allocating to it, it's cheaper than that. And if I work really hard at it and get really good at it, I still won't be as good as them. So it's that mindset. Yeah. So when you're bringing people into your business, whether it's partnerships or employees or whatever, it's really important to actually almost say, right, you do this now and I don't. You do this now and I don't. This is what I'm going to ask you to help keep you honest and help you keep on top of things. And this is the support I'm going to give you, but I am not doing this anymore. What we encounter a lot is that the business founder, the business owner started off as the salesperson and the marketing director and blah, blah, blah. And they're still trying to be all of those things, even though they're now paying.
But we have a saying all the time, though, right? Nobody's going to give a shit about your business as much as you do.
Yeah.
Right? So that, if you've taken and grown and nurtured this thing to a sizable kind of business, it's still a very difficult mind shift. And you're asking yourself to put a lot of trust in somebody to say, this is what I've done. I need you to carry on from here because I need to focus on this. I don't know you from Adam, but this was my baby that I started in my bedroom, and now I'm here and we've got all these employees and we've had, we've raised funding, we've got investors and all the rest of it. I'm accountable to all of them, but I'm happy to step back and say, go on then, David, but you lead my sales team.
But do you not think it's never going to be their baby? In the same way as it is to you?
It's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question, isn't it? And I think that's the key, isn't it? The hiring strategy of, you got to hire someone who gives a shit. Gives a shit enough to A, put their own name to it, but B, wants to be part of the journey that you're on. Yeah,
their talent's important, their drive and their energy is critical, but if you can get them engaged, and that's on you, it's on you to engage them as an employee.
Absolutely.
Then you can really stretch that talent and that energy to the moon and back. But it's never going to be their baby because it's not their baby. Yeah. So there's also the acceptance of that, right? So it's kind of unreasonable to expect someone for whom it's just a job to care about it as deeply as you.
It is absolutely. I agree with you. It's completely unreasonable to. But then in the same light, it's that maybe plays a big part as to why then somebody who has been the jack of all trades and has took the business to where it is, at that point to then go, do you know what? Yeah, you're right. I will allow you to come into my business and lead my sales function whilst I focus on product, marketing, finance, whatever the other expertise might be where there's room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's very well known right now in sort of the working world that people's mind shift is starting to change and is just a job and all the rest of it. So it's probably even more difficult now for scaled CEOs that have, do you know what I mean? To now go, for us to achieve the next step, we need to do this. Because I think the landscape's changed. It isn't what it was 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I'd argue also that those people who are super engaged and those people who are kind of really driven tend to just go, I'll work for myself. I'll just do this for myself. It's certainly in the recruitment world.
You did, right? You had the connections to ring up, insert, big business here and say, right, I've just finished up 20 years at FedEx. Yeah. Here's all my achievements. Let me come and do.
It's interesting because it's a question that I get asked from time to time, which is why did you join Sales Geek? Why didn't you just do this on your own? And I knew that I needed to have a tribe. So I'm no good on my own. I've always had a boss, and I've never had to be performance managed or whatever, but just wanting to please my boss was enough to keep me honest. Having peers was enough to work with. It's so
lot of our peers that we speak to who did historically set up a recruitment business on their own, and eventually either shut it down and go back and work for somebody, or it just hasn't, for whatever reason, worked out. They all say the same thing: is I just miss having people around me. I didn't realise how important that was. I'm great at recruitment. I'm struggling because I'm struggling to keep myself motivated, because I used to come onto a sales floor full of other people bashing the phones, and like sharing successes and all the rest of it, and I haven't got that anymore. So it's interesting though.
No, it's really difficult. So I find if I close a big deal, my sales ego needs to show off about it.
Yeah, you need that belt.
So I need to ring someone. I need to phone somebody and say, got it. Aren't I great?
For some reason, the other half just don't appreciate. They don't do that.
That's great. Can you pick your socks up?
That's not their job. But you know what? I've also found that if I have a big deal and I don't win it, I need to phone someone and tell them about that as well. I need to unburden it. And so, what I get from Sales Geek is a community. Before I was speaking to you guys today, I was on a weekly call with a decent number of the gang, and I need that. I need that interaction. But I need. You can get lone wolves
where you need it, right?
You can get lone wolves who can operate on their own. But I need to be part of a gang. I need to bounce ideas off people. If you put me in a room and said, go and do something creative, you'll only get something out of me is if I've either got someone in the room to challenge or someone in the room challenging me. If you give me a blank piece of paper, I won't achieve anywhere
You're
near
coming
as
back
much.
with, give me 2 ton of topsoil.
But that's so what I find when we're working with business owners is it is lonely, and actually a lot of the value that we find that we add, and it's kind of not documented or structured anywhere, is that unplanned leaning against each other's doorways at the end of the day when everyone's gone home, and you find that ideas pouring out of the business owners, but they need someone to go, that's a great idea, or else they won't do it. Or you need someone that challenges them and kicks it into shape. And quite often they say, it sounds like you think this is a terrible idea. I'm like, no, it's a really good idea. I just wanted to make sure that you are fully behind it.
Tested this,
but sometimes
actually not having somebody to do that with, absolutely, that's kind of that intangible value of, you're coming in, you're leading my sales team, you're doing this, you're doing that, but it's the stuff you can't put a price on, which is mate, have you looked at this? I've got this idea. And then you to be able to go, wouldn't do that. Or maybe think about this.
So it's that little bit. It's almost like, shall I do it? Shall I do it? And if you've got someone next to you saying, do it, you're far more likely to do it. Whereas if it's your own conscience, weirdly, you've that bit of accountability, I think tends to help people just take a step forward. So you almost see it. I see a lot of people almost looking over the cliff and, shall I jump? Shall I not jump? It's like, come on, jump, and then they'll do it.
Gaslighting. You wouldn't make that.
I'm like, push them and then I run away.
No, it's interesting because we've spoken about this a few times, right? That I think in business in general, because of this, the mind shift change that I talked about with employees just seeing work as work, and the entrepreneurial kind of spirit of people coming to the forefront of like, I want to control my earnings and run something and build something myself. I think we are moving into sort of the decade of sort of outsourcing. Because if you're coming into my business as an employee, as long as you get paid, as long as you're, everything else ticks the boxes and that kind of thing, your motivations are what your motivations are, right? But if you're an outsourced function or an outsourced product that I've brought into my business, well, that's a two-way relationship, because you have a statement of work that you need to deliver and an accountability piece that I'm holding you to, and vice versa. Because you can come to me and go, listen, I said to you I'd do this, this, and this, but I said I needed these tools. Now, that's great, I'm here, but you're telling me, you haven't hit these numbers. Well, you haven't given me the tools. This is a two-way partnership. Do you know what I mean? And so then that anxiety piece of a business owner being like, I need to let this go, but nobody's going to care as much. Actually, an outsourced function is probably going to care that little bit more, because if it doesn't work out, that's a revenue or portion of your revenue that you can no longer rely on as you grow your business and brand, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I've been very fortunate that I've been schooled throughout my career in a business that cares deeply about employee engagement, and it was embedded in the culture. And so, as much as I agree with you, and I think that the whole work-life balance thing is a thing. So we've really driven hard on employee engagement, but we've also driven our people really hard. As a world.
No, absolutely, yeah.
And I think one thing that I think has never escaped is that when COVID started, and we all went on Zoom, all of the employers suddenly owned the commute hour there and the commute hour back. So all of a sudden you'd leave the house at 7:30 to get there for 8. All of a sudden you started work at 7:30 now, and you'd leave at 5:30. Yeah. Now you finish at 6:30, and I don't think that's ever been clawed back properly. But I think that employees are much more cognizant of, it's all right for me to have a week off, isn't it? It's like, yeah, absolutely. But if the culture's right in the business, you should be stood over them, helping them book the flight.
Yeah.
Really taking some ownership of that. So I do think, I see so many businesses fail to engage their employees, and if you're right-minded and a good human being, it'll come naturally because you care. But you could even, if you don't care, you should at least try and pretend and make it feel like you care. And I see a lot of organisations get that wrong, and they see employees as labour resource. And so that's tricky because I've been involved in outsourcing projects over the years, and I don't think I've ever seen a strong execution of engaging with those outsourced. The connection's just not quite the same.
Is that because business owners, especially small business owners, expect too much? It doesn't matter who the...
It's not their baby. Yeah, and it's not the outsourced person's baby, right?
That's the point, because you were talking about it earlier. It's like you would get more engagement from like an outsourced service. On the surface of it, because it's their business and they want to protect their revenue, right? But actually, the same applies to an employee. If just the same as like I'll bring you in to outsource my sales director and my sales training, if you're not performing, David, listen, it's not working out, mate. Contract's done. If I've got somebody in who just isn't performing as a salesperson, I could do the same thing and be like, listen, it just isn't working out. See you later. So is it maybe that the expectations are too high?
Yeah, possibly. Possibly. I think that I observe. I see it a lot with salespeople. Actually, if salespeople are going into organisations, they're not onboarded well, and the business owner, their eye is almost immediately drawn to the ROI of that person.
It's hard not to with sales, though, isn't it? Because that's literally what you're bringing them in for.
You would expect to put £1 in and get £2 out, but that doesn't happen overnight. If that happened, I always maintained that if the market was just going to come to your front door, knock on it and buy, we wouldn't have salespeople. We'd just have customer service agents, right, who manage the problems that creates. But I've seen a lot where people are interviewed, they're offered, they turn up on the first day, and
they give them a phone book and a phone and be like, right, off you go.
Yes, yeah. And I tell you what's interesting for me, and this was a massive learning curve for me. When I was in Denmark, the culture there is so extremely different, and I'm not saying it's necessarily better or worse, but definitely extremely different. We had a fairly senior manager. It was unusual for us to hire externally in senior roles. It was always promotion from within, but we hired a senior manager. Obviously, we were an American company in a Nordic country. We hired this guy, Danish guy, lovely fella. At the end of his first week, I was having a conversation, a corridor conversation, and it's like, oh, how's it going? Of course, I'm like, isn't it wonderful here? I bet you're really happy. And he was kind of, it's a bit shit, isn't it? Wow, okay. Yeah. And we had failed to meet his minimum expectations that had been set by his working career in Denmark, which was he hadn't received a branded lanyard, mug, pen, mouse mat on his desk on the first day. We didn't have his laptop ready. which is pretty fundamental to anybody, right? We didn't.
It's amazing how common that is, though, isn't it? Like just
mad.
at the scale of I would argue actually, in smaller businesses they tend to do that better than they do in bigger businesses.
Yeah. Well, but get this: the main thing that we didn't provide, which I just didn't know, and he didn't work for me. He worked for another function, but still didn't know. He's like, "Where's my flowers?"
Oh, is that a thing? Is it in Denmark?
So in Denmark, it's absolutely embedded in the culture that on a first day, certainly in a clerical or a leadership role, male or female, get a bunch of flowers.
As a welcome.
And so, of course, my reaction as a Brit is like, you what? Internally. But actually, we just got it completely wrong.
Yeah.
So I had this experience when I worked for BMW. And do you remember I was telling you about this? So I got there, and on my first day, I got welcomed by the HR person. They put a bottle of champagne on my desk. And I've never had that before. It was, for me, I was always like, you walk into a thing, here's a phone book, here's the CRM, do you know how to use it? You'll figure it out. Go ahead, just go do it. And it was like, it was a totally different experience where I was like, Jesus, do you know what? Actually, this actually feels really good.
Yeah.
I felt
you almost didn't come to Paige.
Yeah, because I felt valued.
Like, yeah, I feel a bit shit doing this though, because they've been really good to me.
Yeah.
And
like I got a bottle of champers, I got this, I got that.
These people are kind. These people care about me.
They took a picture of me. They sent it around to the entire office. Like, this is Sean.
Avoid this guy.
Yeah. This is Sean. He's new, but if you see him, say hi to him. Introduce yourself. Tell him what you do. And just that in itself was like a big fucking actually these are actually really good people.
It's really huge. You know, a very very good friend of mine has just started a new job in London this week, and I sent him a WhatsApp last night or the night before. How's it going? And he came back and said, seems okay. Most of the leadership group are in Israel. They've got their own problems going on at the moment. Blah blah blah. But my second question to him was, how's the culture? And he's like, it's bang on. And he knew exactly what I meant. It's like, what's the vibe? How are the people? How engaging is it? Are you getting the support that you need? And it's everything from, that photograph that how people manage you being introduced, the warmth that you receive. And clearly from you had an alternate offer and really struggled and wrestled with it in part because they
made me feel welcome.
Made you feel part of the furniture, and it's
it.
massive. It's absolutely huge.
And actually, when you're saying that, at the start, it's like flowers, really, fucking hell. But then you really think about it, and you think, okay, well, this company definitely wants me to be here, and they want me to be here, and they've shown that they want me to be here. Whereas previous companies where I've never had that before, it's just like.
And I dug into this, and I said, okay, flowers. That's interesting. Where's that come from? And this is probably a bit general, but fundamentally, it was explained to me as it's really simple. If you're a female colleague, you're delighted because females generally like to receive flowers. Bit of a generalist statement. And if you're a male, your wife gets the flowers. So so then they're engaging with the family on the first day. And it's like, oh, is that a bit sneaky, or is that? Oh, it's just nice.
No, it's just cool.
It's just nice.
Cultural nuances are so important, though, aren't they?
So for the guys behind the camera, I expect you guys to be disappointed if you do not have flowers on your desk by the time you leave for work this afternoon.
They all have hay fever.
Don't be getting ideas.
That's really interesting. So, how do you introduce that then into an owner-managed business? How do you get them to kind of go from, I need you to do this, to?
I think it's tricky. So when I engage with a customer of Sales Geek, I'm outsourced to a certain extent. I'm a slight outsider. Now, we make it really clear from the outset that we're not a consultant. We don't use that word. Our job is to embed ourselves in that business, work out what to do, and then help them do it. So in an ideal world, the sales guys, if not a dotted line, have a solid line to me, in terms of their weekly one-to-ones and their pipeline reviews and all that stuff. And you try and cast the right shadow. So if the business owner is somebody that's open-minded and malleable and flexible, then you will, if you see an opportunity, you don't always see things to critique. You see some things that you want to adopt yourself. But I try and see if I can influence and plant some seeds of thought in the owner's mind about how to do it. And if they're not that flexible person, I do it anywhere with the sales team. I want the sales organisation to be the most engaged group of people in that business, because I think clients that are buying the product can smell a disconnect between the salesperson
100%
and the product.
100%. You can't sell something you don't agree with.
Yeah.
You just, I argue this all the time, because there's a lot of like your traditional salespeople be like, give me anything, I'll sell it. Snow to an Eskimo and all that crap. I'm just like, the product's got to be good.
Well, it doesn't have to be good, you have to believe it.
But this is as in you've got to buy into the product. You got to be you can't be sat there thinking, fucking, I wouldn't use this. And
listen, we all know there are guys out there that have been told to stand in motorway services and sell credit cards or window double glaze and whatever. Those. I think they're arguably the best job you could ever have in sales at the beginning, because nothing will ever be as tricky and difficult and soul destroying as that, right? So the resilience you need to get through all of those no's does you no harm at all. But fundamentally for me, selling is about going out into the world and finding the people that have got the problem that your product or service fixes.
That's it.
That's basically it.
That's it.
That's basically it. And so your job is to filter through all the people that don't need you at all.
Yeah.
And then you're left with the
rather
people
than
that
convince them that they do, or convince them that the problem
exists. Don't try and trick
exists.
people into buying something that you're going to just. It's a short-term game. It's going to bite you in the arse. Go and find the people that need your help, and then try and focus on the ones that need your help now. And in the meantime, maintain a relationship with the ones that don't need you just now.
And do you know, it's amazing how little you have to negotiate with those guys.
If the problem's big enough and you can show them what the outcome is for them when that problem's gone away or is fixed or resolved, then it's more a question of when rather than if. Yeah.
I mean, look, if we're and we see it all the time, don't we? We're selling to clients. So we're selling our recruitment services to clients, and the ones that are just seeing it as a transactional service. I've got an empty seat. I need to fill it. You guys have phoned me and fine, go on then. You fill that seat, but I'm only going to pay like a fixed fee, or I'm going to give you 10%, or I'm going to some outrageous fee that is just like it isn't worth it. Because actually, if you look at that, we'll probably make a loss on that. But the ones that are like, no, I've seen what you guys do, or I value what you bring to the table, I value your network, I know that you're going to find me the right people. You mention your price, and they're like, yeah, okay, go on then, we'll go with that, because they're not. They want their problem fixed rather than pay the cheapest.
But do you not find in your game that it's all about relationships?
100%. It's only about relationships. Yeah, but those relationships are built over the course of time.
Yeah, The game's changing a bit, because a relationship's got to start somewhere, right? And nobody's starting a relationship on a cold phone call. There's no way in hell I'm going to ring you up and be like, David, I know you're not recruiting right now, and you might not be for a while, but I want to start a relationship with you. I want to, that just doesn't happen because of almost the negative connotations and stuff within recruitment. You've almost got to now show all your cards and kind of be like, this is in terms
of the value prop, you have to put it all on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes that looks like going, right, you work in FedEx. I know that this is the sort of team that report into you. Here's somebody that might be of interest to you that I'm currently working with. You might not be recruiting right now, but this is the caliber of person that I could bring to the table should you be recruiting and you struggle.
Equally, it could be something like I know that DHL have lost this contract, and what I also know is that there's these significant salespeople that are going to be coming out of there. Now, I'm working with them at the minute, but do you want me to tap them up to have a conversation with you as well? At which point you're like, okay, you know the market, you know where I'm recruiting, you possibly have got the right caliber of candidates, you might be somebody I want to engage
and you're
with.
connected. You're connected in my world. Yeah. There's value here.
Compare that
now
to...
let's build a relationship. Rather than me being like, I want to build a relationship with you. Why? I've got KPIs to meet, and you've worked for FedEx, and I assume you spend a lot of money on recruitment.
No, and it's
you know what I mean?
It's interesting for me that my experience of recruitment is mixed. I've had good and bad experiences, but I think you also have to take a step back from that, which is that if you have got 10 sales positions to fill and you interview 100 people, you're not going to like half of them. Yeah, and if those people apply directly via an advert on your website, then you go, well, I didn't like them. Whereas if they come via you, you're rubbish. You sent me a load of crap.
Yeah, no one ever says, oh, our careers page is awful. You know,
It's just send. Well, they do. We used to find at FedEx, you would get applications from all over the world, and the first response would be like, "Please show us that you've even got the eligibility to come to the UK, and then we'll have a conversation with you." But so I appreciate that you guys get tarred with that. A poor applicant that's not got your name on it is just a poor applicant, but a poor applicant that's got your brand above their CV, you are rubbish.
No, but we are though, and this is the thing, because the point is that we're not just picking a CV up and sending it to you. We're picking the CV up, we're having a conversation with that person, you're doing all the due diligence that the client's asked you to do, and then you're sending that CV. And if that CV is rubbish for genuine reasons, then okay, fine.
Or if that candidate interviewed poorly, or you've sat there and gone, why have I wasted 20 minutes with this person? Then that recruiter has missed the mark. So
but let me rewind a little bit. So when I say a poor candidate, that's probably a bit unfair. What I mean is an unsuccessful candidate, right? Can still be good. But everybody not everybody, but I would say half of the guys that don't make the cut get categorised if they come through an agency as rubbish. Mm-hmm. And actually, they were just not what we wanted. So the best relationship I had with a recruiter, it built over a number of years. And what I realised she did was she absolutely sussed out the kind of person that I like working with. Mm-hmm. And so we got to the stage, and you kind of touched upon it earlier on, Nitin, where she would come to me and say, I know your job spec, I know your competency model, I know this, I know that, I know the territory, I know the customers. I've got this guy, and he doesn't tick any of those boxes, but I think you would love working with him. And it was remarkable how often we would end up hiring that off-piste.
The wild card.
So it's almost like for all of our efforts to demonstrate what we wanted, we were wrong. We were kind of wrong because, of course, I needed this person to be amiable and dynamic and articulate and good abstract reasoning and able to work in a team and all those kind of things. They're kind of givens, but so often, there was one guy that I hired and it was a pure sales job, and the recruiter came to me and said, "This guy's been running call centres." Right, okay, see him. And I for this particular, I think I'd interviewed 10, 12, 13 people after loads of pre-screen, and he was like candidate 14, like end of the day, we're on our knees.
Yeah, this point,
came in,
whatever,
and just swept us off our feet, and he was that, he was that square peg in the round hole. And so I really valued that relationship with that recruiter, because she'd listened to all of the things that I said I wanted, and I think I did want those things, but she also, over time, she spent time with my existing team and scoped out, right, so he wants people that are going to challenge, he doesn't mind people that are going to bite back, he wants, a bit of creativity, wants a little bit of creative tension in there. And to a man and woman, I think all of those guys that ended up coming through the back door of the process rather than the front door ended up having the longest, most successful careers, because they fitted in a way that we couldn't substantiate on a scoping document or on a competency model or whatever. So I do think it's tricky for you guys, because it's still very unscientific.
We were selling people.
Yeah.
Right.
But
at the end of the day, at the end of the day, if I'm trying to sell you this glass, that glass is not going to say to you, I don't like him, I don't want to be in his like cabinet of glasses.
It's also not going to tell you that it wants 30k, but then in the interview tell you that he wants 40k.
Yeah, so it's selling people, and it sounds horrible, selling people. You're not selling me, I'm not an item to be sold, absolutely. But selling a candidate profile to a business, it's selling a person who has feelings, emotions, baggage, wants, needs, desires, aspirations, is so difficult compared to selling a abstract piece of something.
No, I get it. I've just had a penny drop. So one of your challenges, I guess, then, or tell me, is that the product that you start the process selling has the ability to completely change shape by the time they end up in the room.
That's it. Our product can say no to being sold.
You've come in and asked me for an Xbox, and I've gone, I've got one of those, and by the time you get home and open it up, it's a kettle. No, but do you know what I mean? Like, that's the world we live in, and it's up to us to determine, is this Xbox going to turn into a kettle by the time it gets to
do you try and stop your candidates doing that, or do you try and filter out the ones that you think are going to do it?
It's more of an education piece.
Yeah,
because look, people don't people don't just change their salary expectations overnight for no reason, right? This candidate that's done that, using that as an example, because that's quite a common one, or their working from home requirements.
Well, let's give you a live example. The live example would be Tom's one, where he had a candidate who has gone through this process with a pretty big company. Started off the process with, I want X amount of money. I think it was like 80 odd K or something like that. Something like that. We got them the offer, and he was like, yeah, so look, I'll have to have a think about it. He was very kind of elusive at the start anyway, but it's like, yeah, let me have a think about it. It's like, well, we've met your expectations in terms of salary. You said you like the sound of the business. You're really interested in the project and the work that they're doing. It's in the right location. It's ticking all of these competency boxes that you were talking about
boxes. Ticked all of those. So what's missing? Where's the issue?
Well, I just need to have a think about it. But think about what? What is there to think about? And it was his emotion connected to wanting to leave his current employer. But that's the conversation that we have, which is like, why do you want to leave? Oh, well, I want a pay rise. Go talk to your boss. Go talk to your boss and tell him you want a pay rise.
Yeah, do that first. But, things, it's in... The good recruiters will do that and be like, look, David, when we first spoke, you said you wanted this. I've got you that now. And now it's an issue. What's just tell me the real issue. Tell me the problem.
Yeah.
I've had it's Tom again. He can't control the candidate. I had a situation with Tom where he was like, I don't get it. Like, he was happy with the 80k salary that was being offered. But now he wants 90 because his mortgage advisors told him that he could lose his house, and like spindled all these lies to Tom. And Tom just kind of like, because he doesn't know any different, which just ate it up. And I was like, let me speak to him a minute. So I get on the phone to the candidate. I'm like, right, look, what's going on? Yeah, well, I'm not allowed to drop below the salary that I'm on. And I was like, said your mortgage advisor? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, right, are you in the house already? Yeah. How long you live there for? 6 months. So what do you think?
When are you going to speak to your mortgage advisor?
Why would your mortgage advisor call you? And why would your bank ring you up and be like, you've taken a pay cut. That house is ours now. And I was like, let's start this again. What's the issue? And he went, to get through the door, to have the conversation in the first place, I agreed to the 80k salary. And I was hoping during that process that they would see me and value me enough for me to want, for them to say, yeah, we'll pay you the 90. And I was like, right. So you've tried to play a little game here, which is fine because we get why you did it. That makes sense to me. The salary, when Tom first called me, he said, I've got a budget of up to 80k. So I've gone, yes, because I like the sound of the company and all the rest of it. And I was kind of hoping that they would maybe want to pay me more. But you need to be honest with Tom about that. Because Tom should have and would have been having that conversation right from day one.
Yes.
And leading that client up. Because now what it looks like is you've gone, oh, you want to give me the job? Yeah, that's fine. I now want this much. Now, flip that on its head.
Was it a sales job?
He wasn't. No.
Okay, that's interesting. Sounded like one.
Right? It was a lead data analyst. Okay. That's what I was like, what?
Okay.
Yeah, you're an analytical person. Like, what the hell? But no, yeah. And I was sort of like, flip it on its head. How would you feel if when the offer came in, it was 10 grand less? And then I'll say to you, well, actually, look, the budget was 70 all along, and we were kind of hoping that you would like them enough to take
there's
the
a few experience gaps on the CV, actually. Don't interview them then.
This is it. So
that hasn't changed since you've seen the CV.
A good recruitment consultant will coach the candidate through this and understand the candidate's motivations for doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because it could be any number of reasons why you're on the phone to them. And the first thing we always say to them, any of them, and I had this with Ben yesterday, I've got a great candidate, blah, 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 got this, they've got that, they've got this. Fantastic. And I was like, why does he want to leave his current place? I don't know. I was like, lead with that, and then the rest will make sense, right? But a good, and I think this is where the good recruiters differentiate themselves from the rest of the recruitment world, which is you're scanning an item, putting it in the bag. Oh, I see you're looking for a salesperson. Here's 6 CVs. They all have the words sales and person on their CV.
Yeah.
Right. Next job spec, and sort of that volume-based work. You're not going to build relationships with those people.
No.
They're going to be forgettable and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't cry for us, but we do. Yeah.
Are you doing all right? Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah.
No, but
we have fun.
Yeah, it can be challenging though, definitely. But as is with all sorts of sales jobs and any job. I mean, even if you're an inexperienced business owner who hasn't done sales before, that in itself is daunting as well, though, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I run a sales club, and one of the things I always open up with is, I welcome everybody. and then I remind them that they are all the sales director for their business. And a few of them kind of go, yeah, I know. And about 80% of them go, oh God, that's horrible. And you know, and I guess a little bit like recruitment, the word sales in some people's eyes is a little bit dirty, a little bit grubby, you know. And that's why I always bring it back to the point I was making earlier on about, no, it's about helping people. It's about helping people fix their problems. And anybody that's got any integrity doesn't try and sell somebody something that they don't need. And anybody that's got a brain shouldn't buy something they don't want. So there shouldn't be any conflict or confusion in there. But yeah, the entrepreneurs quite often don't realise they are the salesperson, or they absolutely realise they are the salesperson. But as the business scales, they don't know how to slow down and let go, and then let whoever is responsible for revenue growth and the commercial side of the business take control. And that's one of the things that we try and help with, is almost get people in their lanes and reset and set them off again in the right direction.
So how do our listeners and viewers get in touch with you then? What's the best point of contact?
Salesgeek.co.uk is our website. There's a load of information on there for contact and stuff. You know, we're national, although I'm based in Coventry and Warwickshire. I've got a load of great colleagues who have all been in big bad corporate sales in the past, and we're now trying to democratise that into SMEs. I'm on LinkedIn, David Poole Sales Geek. Lots of content on there, and if you go to any kind of networking event or anything where there's people in Coventry and Warwickshire trying to grow their businesses, you probably will bump into me on one of those as well. Yeah.
Cool. No, look, we really appreciate you taking the time to pop out and see us today.
Thanks very much.
I've loved it. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Good. Thank you. I'll move it now. Is that all right?
Have you been trying your mic too close?
No, apparently when we're wrapping up, I'll just go like this and move it away. He was saying that.